today we will deal with housing finance. Now we will see the growth of housing finance in India. Following are the factors of growth of housing finance in India. Number 1, it is one of the most preferred investment avenue in India among the middle class people. Second, the accessibility of housing finance for people in general has evolved, developed and improved over the years. Third, today there are a number of housing finance and real estate projects through IPO, FDI, venture capital, which provide equity listing on the alternatives investment market, in addition to traditional debt finance options. Fourth, there are different types of institutions which cater to the need for a long-term finance for housing in urban and rural areas like RRPs, ARTPs and SCPs. Next, home equity loans, extension loans, improvement loans, purchase loans, land purchase loans and home loans to self-help groups are the different types of loans available to people. Various government policies and initiatives also helped the market to expand further. Example, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. 7. Tax benefit given by the government also leads to the growth of housing finance market. Currently, tax benefit for self-occupied house. Number 1, deduction available under Section 24 on home loan interest is Rs 2 lakh. Second, deduction under Section 80C is Rs 1,50,000 and third, deduction under Section 80E is Rs 50,000. All housing finance companies are regulated and supervised by NHB, which increase the confidence among the public towards the sector. Investment in real estate will offer at least 10 to 15% returns depending upon the locality. The demand for a house is always there. Hence, housing finance sector has received a boost through a combination of growing demand and rising affordability. Now we will deal with the market of housing finance. The housing finance market has recorded mixed fortunes in the last 5 years. However, the number of players to be one of the safest lending avenues. Given the government support and favorable macroeconomic environment and reasonably resilient banking system, the industry has got good growth prospects in the future. Second, despite strong growth in dispersal of housing loans in the country in the last few decades, India's housing finance sector has remained relatively underpenetrated compared to its peers, as evident by its low mortgage to GDI ratio, 9% as on March 2020, compared to its regional peers, that is 17% for Thailand, 20% for China and 34% for Malaysia. Next, the shortage in low-income housing category is evident both in terms of quality and quantity, and about 96% of this is composed of economically weaker sections and lower income groups. The government announcement has given further impetus to the transformation of the sector and is a great step to empower people to invest in their dream homes. Overall, the sector outlook remains positive with several positive supply sides initiated. SBIHF, DFHS, ICICI housing finance companies, LIC Housing Finance are some of the lending housing finance market participants. In 2017, HDFC Limited and SBI Housing Finance had 1/4 of the market share separately. Next to them, LIC Housing Finance companies and ICICI had around 13% and 6% of market share respectively. Axis Bank's market share was roughly 6.5%. The rest are shared by other housing finance agencies. Next, we deal with National Housing Bank. National Housing Bank was formed as a subsidiary of the RBI when National Housing Policy was announced in the year 1988, regulating the housing finance industry in India. The National Housing Bank specifies various norms to be followed by the HFCs and regulates the industry on line of regulation of non-banking finance companies by the RBI. It provides refinancing facility to the housing finance companies and facilitates promotion of these companies on specified lines. Now we will discuss the objectives of NHB. Number 1. To promote, establish and aid in the promotion and establishment of housing finance institutions. Number 2. To make housing credit more affordable. Number 3. To act as a regulatory and supervisory authority to monitor and regulate the activities of HFCs. Next, to promote appropriate technologies for housing. 5th, to promote savings from housing. 6th, to enable the housing finance system to access capital markets for resources. 7th, to strengthen the backward and forward linkages of the housing sector with the rest of the economy. Next, to enhance resources for the industry and render them to housing. Next, we move to the roles or functions of NHB. Number 1. The promotion function. The purpose of setting up more local and regional level specialized institutions is to have dedicated outlets for supply of housing credit. With the setting up of NHB in 1988, there have been sustained efforts at crediting and supporting a new set of specialized institutions to serve as dedicated centers for housing credit. Second, regulatory function. The next function is regulatory role. This responsibility becomes all the more relevant as the housing finance system enters a secondary phase of development in terms of integration with the debt and capital markets. Refinance functions. It provides financial assistance to various banks and housing finance institutions. The refinance assistance provided by NHB to HFCs has enabled them to increase their operations and cover a large section of the population. NHB has formulated schemes to support all these agencies and help them to cater to the housing needs of the community at large. Asset securitization. NHB is of the view that the sectoral policy environment must also be sensitized to the needs and potentials of the informal sector, recognizing the scope and potential of mortgage securitization as a viable and sustainable means for generation of large volume of resources for housing sector. NHB has taken various initiatives toward asset securitization. Fifth, advisory function. NHB provides advisory services to the central and state government, local authorities and other agencies for formulation of overall policies aimed at promoting the growth of housing and finance institutions. Sixth, other function. It guarantees the financial obligation of HFCs and underwriters, their issue of stock, bonds, debentures, etc. It is responsible to conduct research and survey on construction techniques, any studies related to shelter, etc. It is also responsible for coordinating with LIC, UTI, GICI and other financial institutions. Thank you.